Hello witches, and welcome back to Activist Witch, where we discuss witchcraft and activism. You can call me Isha, my pronouns are she, they, and in today's video we're gonna look at 20 witches that I watch and trust, here on YouTube mainly, but also a bit on Instagram. But before we get started, hey, if you like what we do here, you can support us directly on Ko-fi, and in this way you help us subsidize and keep access to all our educational content free for everyone. And there's goodies for you too, like Discord, credits, monthly lives, and of course you can also get a tarot reading with me, Italian style. And during the month of December 2025 and January 2026, you can get the year ahead reading with me. So if you'd like to support us there, thank you so very much. I have 20 names, so I'm trying to go quickly, tell you who they are, why I watch them, why I trust them, and then we go on to the next. And I've done this in reverse popularity. So I'm gonna start off with the witches that I'm lucky enough to know, even if the reach is small, so that hopefully you can go and say hello and see how amazing they are. First one is the one with the least reach at the moment, 58 subscribers, and it's Rachel Henderson of The Scent of Lemon and Rosemary fame. She's an author with Llewellyn. She has started YouTube, I think, in the last year, and she's doing all those DIY sewing, house-related videos that I find really nice and soothing. She has a book also coming out next year, for which I have written the blurb, because she was nice enough to send an advance copy to me, and I was like, this is cool, this is the kinds of stuff that I wish I had when I got into witchcraft. So yeah, go give a watch to Rachel. Then we have Ty. I adore Ty. Ty lives in Australia and follows Hellenic polytheism, and it's always so nice to hear their take on how you basically adapt a religion that hasn't been popular current in hundreds and thousands actually of years, and they always have a very interesting take on it. They don't do videos often enough for my taste, but I do appreciate that there needs to be a balance. And you know what? If you go there now, at least you have a slight back catalogue to catch up with them while we all wait and hope for the next video, Ty. Just say. They also did a collaboration with SaplingTarot, so go watch their podcast together as well. Very quick mention, because I don't know actually their reach. I think that they have a much bigger reach than they have on YouTube, and it's the Call Your Coven podcast. It's B, Jenna, and Meg of 3am Tarot, and they do 2 episodes per month. I just like to have them on, and basically they're chatting to each other, they're telling me what to expect from the month to come from a tarological, astrological, and numerological point of view. I'd like to think that I can have friends that cool that just come over for a cuppa. So yeah, if you're looking also for podcasts, that's one thing, because you can see them on YouTube, but you can also just listen to them because they are on all podcast platforms. So there you go. Then we have Vonnie, theVonnieness. I don't understand why Vonnie has just 500 subscribers. Vonnie has been sharing her journey on Wicca and her witchcraft practice for about 16 years, and it's all documented on her channel here on YouTube, and she still makes like weekly videos. It's outstanding to me, the labor of love and how much she has felt like sharing in such a generous way with us, and we don't know that it's there. How do you not know? Hopefully now you know. Go check out Vonnie, theVonnieness. Then we have Eddie, the WolfsbaneWitch. Eddie has not posted a lot lately, but he is amazing in the work that he does, and he works with different kind of deities. It's very just interesting to take his take on things, and he also started to do podcasty, like audio-only stuff. I genuinely, and also is one of the best queer representations. By all means, so is Ty, so is Imogen. I think that actually I have amazing queer representation in the witches that I watch and follow, so also consider that. Like, to me, those two things just entwine, like, queerness is magic, and magic is queer. To me, at least, it works like that. So yeah, go check out the WolfsbaneWitch as well. By the way, all of these are, of course, linked down in the description below. Then we have Imogen, SaplingTarot. Do they need any introduction? I hope that if you watch me, you know them already, but given the subscribers number, you don't. So go check them out, because Imi is amazing. Other than being, I think, genuinely my real life best friend, but we got to know each other through our channels on YouTube, so what do you want to know? And actually, I will say this, Imogen is the only person at the moment that I trust and I've trusted in the last year and a half, 2 years, to read cards for me. Like, I'm your professional tarot reader if you want to, and we have a chat about it. And the only person that currently reads cards for me, along with Raven, fair enough, is Imogen. So you make of that what you will, but that's how in high regard I keep Imogen in, Imogen is, if the world was more like Imogen, we would have much better of a world. And Imogen is so generous in sharing their tarot practice. They started to do face-to-face videos so that you basically can hear them talk about what their practice is. They have the Cards That You're Dealt podcast, on which I've been the first guest, but they had many more since, which is basically talking about the intersection of neurodivergence and tarot and how those two things do come together a lot. And then let's dig into it. They have had Ty on it, they have had Sylvie from Tarot Magpie. It's just very interesting to hear how these different people that share different neurodivergences and different tarot practice, how they all come together. I love it. It's a good way to stay in touch. And they also have put the podcast now on other platforms, so you can also just listen if you don't want to keep your screen on, basically. And last but very much not least, they are one of the fundamental columns and cornerstones of Witches for Palestine. After phase 1, I don't know if I would have been able to run Witches for Palestine without Imogen. So there you go. There you go. Rashunda Tremble, you should know her from the Numinous Tarot Guide. She also is on Instagram. She does daily pulls. I adore Rashunda to a way that I cannot describe. And also because she is a Black American woman, but she has moved to Switzerland. And I think she's in the canton of Switzerland that actually speaks Italian, which to me, it's a weird mindfuck, I will not lie, because she talks and mentions things sometimes that sound familiar, because not super close to Switzerland, but where I come from is relatively connected to Switzerland. It's still, I'm from Northwest Italy, Switzerland is just there. And I think, there's this connection, and I really like it. And of course, she always has a decolonial anti-racist take on things. So yeah, Rashunda is very, very precious in the community. And if you don't know her, you should know her. We have Joanna, the Polish witch. How many ways do I love Joanna? I don't know. Let me try and count them. So she started the occulty tag a few years ago. She is a Polish folk witch indeed, and I love the way that she tries to educate about the folkloric context and stories around her specific practice. She used to be a chaos magician, and she's gone back in a way to her folk practice. And especially one of the latest videos that they have done talking about the differences between folk practices and ceremonial magic practices it's so good. It's so good because it shows that she understands the context, the political, sociological context that she is in. And she doesn't shy away from the understanding that witchcraft is political. And I love her for it. I think her book is just out or is about to come out as well. So yeah, go check out Joanna if you don't. I don't follow the same practice because I don't follow Polish folk magic, but I just love to learn from her. And it's also interesting to understand the way that it's worth digging and doing research about your own folkloric heritage and past. Yes, Joanna is a very bright example of folk magic to me. And speaking of folk magic, we might as well talk now about the amazing MaryGraceFahrun of Rue's Kitchen fame, who wrote Italian folk magic and now has her second book out, Living Folk Magic. What can I say about Grace? Grace is the closest thing to family in a way. Every time that she does something Italian that reminds me of the things that I used to do in my village, I send her usually a message and I tell her, oh Grace, you remind me of home, you remind me of childhood. She's been incredibly gracious with me from the very beginning. I think one of the first times that my channel took off was because I did a video on Italian folk magic, and Mary Grace just reshared it on her YouTube, and that's why a lot of people have come to find me in 2023. And honestly, reading her books, I've never seen a book in English talking about Italian folk magic as faithful of what Italian folk magic in Italy currently, at least 20 years ago still was. One of the main things that I also started to make videos was to share my memories of Italy and the things that I have seen that at the time I wouldn't have called magic or witchcraft, but I was just subject to, because in a farmer's village of 600 people like the one I come from, it's just what we do. And reading Italian folk magic by Mary Grace was a revelation to me. I read through it and I was like, oh my God, this is what we did as well. And it's the most authentic thing that I've ever read in English, if you want to understand how folk magic in Italy is still done. Because all that Mary Grace was talking about in that book is still how things were going in the 90s in Italy, for what I have witnessed. So, yeah, I cannot recommend Mary Grace enough. Then we have Colette from Witchways. I adore Colette. Colette to me is like the aunt that I wish I had. She's so attentive to political justice, and in every video she has links about the land back movement, about resources for liberation and women's rights and trans rights. And I just love that about her. And she talks about very practical folk magic practices and rituals and spells. She's very generous with the amount of details of her own practice that she shares with people, so that you can literally do the kind of workings and rituals and spells that she does. Not many people feel comfortable necessarily sharing their very own practice, their very own spells. Colette is incredibly generous in that. New arrival in my subscriptions, but where have you been my whole life, Tom Benjamin? Tom is a cartomancer. He does mainly content about tarot, and he's one of the few people that is able to give me new takes on tarot, because at this point, by all means, professionally, I've just been reading tarot for the last 3 years, but most of my tarot knowledge comes from my childhood and the fact that, I mentioned it before, my mother was just dragging me from a cartomancer to another. Like every time that she was going, she would take me with her. And so there is so much of my childhood that is embedded in the tradition of cartomancers in Italy. And because of that, I am used to think of tarot and the way to turn around tarot and to use tarot, which covers a lot. Like, I don't use tarot for divination purposes with other people, because there are ethical implications in that. So I read tarot for people in an archetypal way. Although the divination part sometimes still sneaks in, because it's just, if it comes with my intuition, I will share it, but I will also like to share it with actionable points, and that's why I try to focus on the archetypal. Well, what Tom does is genuinely giving me takes on tarot that I have never thought about before him. He recently did a video about working with your ancestors in certain ways with a tarot deck, and I was mind blown. And I was like, I need to do this. Why have I never done this? So yeah, I just love Tom. And Tom has a very openly political stance as well for human rights, and has this understanding that we're all in this together. Like at some point recently, I think, they decided to start doing readings and courses, pay what you can, but you know what, we're all in this together, and we need ways to get out of these things together, and so nobody will be turned away because of lack of funds. And I love people that do that, because, you know, it's, I understand, and the entire reason why I have low-income tarot readings as well, which are very low, like it's £5, is exactly because I know that it takes more time and it takes more value out of my time and my mental energy doing a 4-card tarot reading for £5. And it's the reason why, hopefully, the people that pay the full price sort of subsidize for people that cannot. But I'm one of those people, like, it's very rare that I can invest more money than £5-7 into something. So to me, it was very important to do stuff that could be accessible to someone like me, because otherwise I'm excluding myself in a way. So I love to see it in other people as well, and Tom does that as well, and I love that. Abby and Jasmine I've put together because they're not one entity, of course, but they are part of that American folk practice that I see together. I think they're not necessarily together in the same coven, but Abby joins Jasmine coven often, and they have rightful political stances, as in we do not stand for fascism, and they're very loud about it, and they unfortunately paid the consequences of that with a lot of white supremacists on YouTube. So go give Abby and Jasmine some love. They're also amazing queer representation, which I love in my siblings, because, you know, I'm partial and we need to stand up with each other. So yeah, if you're interested in American Appalachian folk magic, Jasmine and Abby are your way to go. They are also involved in the interesting kind of demonology and the Goetia, and it's just interesting stuff. And they are amazingly good and entertaining to just like have on video. So yeah, go check them out. Emily of Emily Witchcraft and Tarot. Wow, the way that I love Emily is very personal and biased. So as your local queer witch, I think that Emily is an expression of beauty that cannot be overstated. Which in my head, and this talks about my background a bit, is like, when you are a woman and you look like that, the world should be your oyster. Which then I know from experience that, of course, that's not the case even for Emily. But what I find incredibly commendable for someone like Emily is she comes from some privilege, and still she understands the importance of standing with those who don't have that privilege, and to use that privilege to elevate the voice of those who don't. And I never take that for granted. I know, especially when I do like allyship workshops or unconscious bias kind of thing, and I'm always like, people have a very hard time understanding and accepting that they have privilege, let alone then put it at the service of others. And I was absolutely stunned to see someone that beautiful. Like that's the main thing. Someone that beautiful, who is a mother and therefore holds authority relatively in patriarchy because she's a mother, because sort of she has fulfilled that requirement of patriarchy, that still stands with her trans siblings, that still stands for Palestine. It's amazing to me, and I am really grateful for that. And it's also very interesting to hear all the workings of the stuff that she reads, the stuff that she does, the deity work that she does, when she talks with deities, about deities, when she gets downloads. It's not something that I understand, but it's something that I find incredibly fascinating. And I trust her to tell me about it. Like, I am still a very skeptical witch, and there is a level of trust that I need to have in someone that tells me about their experience to understand, do I trust what you say, or are you promoting yourself and trying to scam people, because that was a very common thing in Italy, or are you just not considering some mental health issues? And Emily is a person that I've watched for so long that by now I trust. She has experiences different from mine with spirits and deities, and I love to hear her take on that. Then we have Mara Starling, the Welsh witch, which I said it before, I'll say it again, visit Cymru, visit Wales, the tourist entity of Wales. Should hire Mara, because Mara is one of our best exports ever. She's written Welsh witchcraft, she has written Welsh fairies. She's so embedded in the folkloric history of Wales that I genuinely don't think you're going to find anything better or more than what Mara has shared so far, and still does, with all her knowledge of magic in Wales. And she's a queer sibling, she's amazing, she's entertaining, she's so entertaining with like the small reels that she does on Instagram and here on YouTube. She's just very, very educational. She will share what she has learned, how she is learning, how long she's been studying things, the stuff that she had to research like in proper serious studies and books to then write her books. I love Mara. Like, Mara is genuinely, I see as a sister. And the fact that she's in a way local to me, like there have been a couple of occasions where we have been in the same room. I'm much of a fangirl for Mara, and I just love it. She's just such an amazing human being. Like, yeah, she is the best Welsh witch that you can find, because, you know, Wales is a Celtic country, and because of that, it can get very white supremacist. Despite the fact that Mara is white, probably because she understands about marginalizations, she doesn't necessarily have that white supremacy take that a good few other Welsh witches have shown. And I'll leave it at that. So yeah, if you're curious about Welsh magic and Welsh witchcraft, there are other options, but I would go to Mara first and foremost, always. Always. Ari TheOakWitch, my Latina sister from the UK, she does British folk magic. She is now working full-time, I think as a botanist or ecologist. She works with plants in official things, so she knows a lot about those things, and she is making fewer videos nowadays. But she has such a back catalog that it's absolutely amazing. And again, she has that mindset to understand the context, to understand the involvement of politics in things, to understand genuinely her book, Spellcraft and Spellwork, is the best book for beginners ever. It's short, sweet, to the point. It tells you beginning to end how to make your own magic and from scratch. And it manages still to give you enough historical and contextual information to understand what is right to do and what isn't, what is important to consider and what has just been erased by the pick and choose attitude of Wicca. And it's not something common still to this day in the witchcraft community. So a work like that, it's a work of art, not only of immense research, because clearly it shows. Ari was the first person to let me know that square breath that we have taken in witchcraft, that is supposed to, align our soul, our body, our aura, is actually samavritti from yoga. Nobody else in any other book that talks about square breath mentions that. And that is the kind of important thing that A, you need to know for, avoiding cultural appropriation. But B, you need to know those things, because if you want to understand more and research more, you need to know where they come from for your own benefit. If not for being a decent person, for your own benefit if you want to do research and you can't dig more than whatever a book has shared about square breath, then you're stuck there. Ari telling you, actually, we have taken this from pranayama yoga, and this is what it actually is called, and you should look it up. And when you look it up with the links that Ari put in the bibliography, it actually goes to, guess what, an Indian person that practices yoga that therefore shares authentically. These things are important, if not, again, for decency, for your own benefit in doing proper research of the mechanism behind what we do in witchcraft. BenebellWen. Oh, Benebell. Her website is already such an incredible mine of gold to learn things about magic the proper academic way. It's mind-blowing. And the work that she does on YouTube are basically even more serious video essays than I do. Like, I try to make it entertaining so that hopefully I keep your attention. Benebell is a university lecture on things. I am always with my jaw to the floor for how good and well-researched the stuff that she does is. Also, not many people know, on her website, she has courses. She doesn't publicize them, but they are the best thing that I've ever seen. She has an introductory course in astrology for less than £50. That I discovered it, and then I told Sofia, my Italian friend, and we were both like, this is so much value, there is so much. You get 2 PDF books that she wrote about it in it, and it's so well done, and nobody knows that it's there. Benebell is if you want to do witchcraft with all the information the academic way, you go to Benebell. Yes. Bente, the Norse witch. I have an utmost amount of respect for Bente, because from my perspective, from where I look from, which in a way is from the outside in, because Bente is very popular. I think they're almost at 70,000 subscribers now. From my perspective, I have seen a lot of people with those numbers or biggers very easily going in sellout directions. Not Bente. Not Bente at all. Like, Bente has their style, know what they're doing, shares about Norse traditions and magic in a way that it's very clear, no fascists allowed here, because I'll be honest, as a person of color, I don't go near Norse tradition because I am concerned about how much it attracts fascists, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, purists of the race, of the master race. It's just not a chance that it's worth for me to take. So all that I know about Norse magic comes from Bente. I don't practice it, but it's very interesting to learn, and it's very reassuring to know that I am learning that from a person that understands the context. And so the best bet for me to learn about Norse magic is from someone like Bente, who is queer themselves and has this very clear open policy of no neo-Nazis. I will never give anything to neo-Nazis to reinforce any of their ideas about this kind of magic reinforces their racism and their white supremacy. Not with me. And I love that about Bente, which together with not having sold out, it's one of the few people at that level and over that I can still trust. And I don't take that for granted at all, especially after the last 6 months. Believe me on that. And to finish on the last YouTube witch, well, do I need to say it? It's Kelly-AnnMaddox. It's Kelly-AnnMaddox. Like Kelly. So I've done these recently. I've been watching Kelly-Ann for 3 years, like since before I started my channel. So imagine my surprise when we actually started to become friends. And last year, around this time last year, we met. She came to Swansea and we spent an afternoon together. And I think Kelly-Ann and I have a very similar kind of energy. Despite the fact she's a Sagittarius and I'm an Aquarius, so it's not necessarily from that. But it's probably we have some similarities in our neurodivergence. And it's just, she brings this energy to a room that is fucking awesome, and I look up to her and I aspire, and if I ever were to become a professional witch, that is the way that I hope to bring usefulness to people. I can't think of anyone else who has made as much content as she has done in the last 12, 15 years. A month or so ago, I decided to scroll back her 800 plus videos to find her first video. And it's just, she started off with this idea of, I know of this, and I think other people should know and have access to this, which is an amazing way to set out things. It's also one of the very few witches that I'm part of the Patreon of, like at the smallest tier, like at the £5 tier, but I'm a Patreon of Kelly-Ann. And I genuinely cannot say that there's anyone else, including me, that is that good value for money. I don't know where she finds the time to do all that content, but at every tier you have so much content. I'm at the lowest tier, and I get monthly affirmations. I get a monthly audio offering, which is just Kelly-Ann talking about something. I get the videos before they go out on YouTube. I get, there's other stuff, there's printables, and I'm just like, and this is just at the lower tier. Like, there is lives in the others, and I'm just like, I don't know how you manage, but it's amazing. And again, the fact that she does so much free content, 800 and plus videos over 12 years, they're just there for anybody to learn her take on witchcraft. And she knows how to be clear about her red lines, about her boundaries, which is something that, again, I look up to someone who's white and still uses their privilege to elevate the voices of Palestine, to elevate the voices of trans people. At least once a month, I see her share again her post about, if you're a witch that think that trans people shouldn't be considered part of witchcraft, or, you know, the divine feminine and all of that, you need to leave now. Which, the more you grow and the more this becomes your day job, I do understand, I do not support, but I do understand why people become more wishy-washy about these things, and the idea that we need to tolerate racism and tolerate transphobia, because at the end of the day, this is witchcraft, shouldn't have to do with that. It's more convenient because it allows people to sell to a wider audience, And Kelly-Ann doesn't take that shit. Kelly-Ann will not take the money from those people. Kelly-Ann is currently boycotting her own books because Watkins is involved with the Palestinian genocide. And that is a level of honesty that you don't see often in people, especially people that have some kind of privilege. To me, that is very important. It gives an amazing example. It gives a great message of allyship and see, even when you think that it's going to affect your own privilege, you can do it and you will be recognized for the value that you have by your siblings that recognize you are working with them. Because at the end of the day, late stage capitalism, if we don't support each other, we're not going to survive. And what Kelly-Ann does is an amazing example of we need to stick together with the most marginalized to break the ladder, not to conquer the ladder of patriarchy or capitalism, to break the ladder. Two special mentions for Instagram. Sofia, my friend sofiarighettinottegar, she makes content mainly in Italian, but she also has her podcast out on YouTube. And YouTube now has the automatic translation. So you can get translated subtitles for her podcast. And she talks about Italian folk magic. She has talked about Santa Lucia. She has talked about Krampus Night. She has gone and done a documentary in supposedly the most haunted villa in Italy. It's all that kind of stuff. Also, Sofia is amazing, like as a human being, as an activist, as a friend. So yeah. And the second mention is a Witchy Path, Elena, who is mainly on Instagram, but also has a coven on Ko-fi. And it's the second witch that I am part of the Patreon of the Ko-fi, because the little coven that she has on Discord, she does like weekly or monthly readings for the people. In higher levels, they also do spells and rituals together. And Elena is just a good egg, which she's also Italian. And it's just, I am biased. I do not expect great things from people that share my mental kindergarten of Italy. And so when I find people like Sofia and Elena, I am ecstatic seeing that these are people that have been born and raised in the same country that I was, that maybe if we had known each other in person, we would have been friends. Because I'm not used to be around people in Italy that ever felt that way. The only friend that I still have in Italy from 20 years ago now is a friend that I have in Milan, and it's one. So it's beautiful when I see people that are white, that were born and raised in Italy, that have that nice, good allyship for things like Palestine. Both Sofia and Elena have been involved in Witches for Palestine. So, you know. Also, Elena shares a lot of her rituals and spells on Instagram. So if you want to have an idea on how to do things that is also peppered with Italian folk magic, you should go check Elena out. That was it. Those were the witches that I watch and that I trust, and especially from smaller channels. There's also Kelly Bear, but Kelly Bear hasn't done videos recently, so I'll put the link as well. But yeah, I don't think I've missed many. If you go on my channel homepage and scroll down, I literally have a list of witches I watch, witches I watch. And if you go on see all or click on witches I watch, you have all the channels that I actually watch and share with. Actually, I need to add the magical crafting, Amy, but they're all there. And if they're not, ask yourself why. And until the next video, I really hope that we can hex the patriarchy together, because there's need for it. The reality of it is that this video was supposed to be shit that goes on in Witchtube, but I want to be propositive and positive rather than being the usual troublemaker that I'm known as and tell you this person is bad because of this person is bad because of that. So take the suggestions that I give. These are all good people, and